This is pre-algebra lesson 2-6, solving equations by multiplying or dividing. Since multiplication and division are inverse operations of each other, they can be used to solve equations to keep our lovely teeter-totter balanced. The division property of equality says if you divide each side of the equation by the same non-zero number, the two sides remain equal, which makes sense. If you do the same thing to both sides of the equation, you're going to keep it balanced. So if I have 6 equals 3 times 2, which is true, if I divide both sides by 3, 6 divided by 3 equals 3 times 2 divided by 3, that also works. Same thing's what happens with multiplication. You can multiply each side of an equation by the same number, also keeps the equation balanced. 12 equals 3 times 4, 12 times 2 equals 3 times 4 times 2. Knowing that, then, when you go to solve an equation, we're going to do the exact same thing we did with addition or subtraction. We're going to determine what they did to the variable, and then we're going to undo that. If they multiplied the variable by something, we will divide. If they divided the variable by something, we will multiply. And it's important, again, to make sure that you keep your equations vertical so that it's easier to see what's going on. If we look at number 1 here, 4x equals 84. 4 is multiplied by x. So to get x by itself, we must divide by 4. Now, we're not going to use the division symbol that looks like this. That's a mathematical symbol. We are now in pre-algebra, so we're going to divide by using the fraction bar. So I'm going to divide this side by 4, and I will also divide the right side by 4. On the left side, the two 4's cancel out because 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 times x is simply x. And then 84 divided by 4, 4 goes into 8 twice, and 4 goes into 4 once, so x equals 21. And of course, we can check this. Does 4 times 21, does that equal 84? Well, let's see. 4 times 4, 84 equals 84. It checks. You should always double check all of your equations to make sure that you have them correct. Number 2, 91 equals 7y. Again, the variable is multiplied by something. In this case, y is multiplied by 7. So to undo multiplication by 7, we will divide by 7. So we'll divide this side by 7, and we'll also divide the left side by 7. We must show it on both sides of the equation. Otherwise, you're not keeping the equation balanced, and the teeter-totter is no longer balanced. The 7's cancel out here, and 7 divided by 7 is 1. 1 times y is y. And then we're simply going to do 91 divided by 7. If you're not really good with your 7's times tables, 7 goes into 9 once, 7 goes into 21 3 times, so y equals 13. And of course, I would like to see all this work, including what I just did here with that division off to the side. It's helpful for me to know what you're doing, because maybe you did everything right, but you can't divide, or you make a small misstep on your multiplication. It's helpful for me to see that so that I know what went wrong if you get the wrong answer. We look at number 3, r divided by negative 5 equals 10. Since they divided by a negative 5, we need to multiply by a negative 5. We need to multiply by a negative because we do not want our variable to be negative. If I divide by 5, then I will end up having a negative r, and I don't want a negative r, I want a positive r. So we're going to take this side of the equation, we're going to multiply it by negative 5. You can put it over 1 if you'd like. It doesn't change anything. So these negative 5's will cancel out, leaving you with a positive r. And 10 times negative 5 is negative 50. 1 times 1 is 1, and we can just do that off the bottom. So r equals negative 50. And again, you can check this. And negative 50 divided by negative 5, does that equal 10? Nope, it does. 10 equals 10, so it checks. Number 4. D divided by 6 equals 54. If you get D by itself, I'm going to multiply by 6 because they divided by 6. And multiply both sides of the equation by 6. These two 6's on the left-hand side cancel out, leaving you with B. And 54 divided by 2 multiplied by 6 is 54. 6 is 30, 32, so it's 324. And there you have multiplying and dividing. Now, you can solve equations by writing, but you can also solve word problems. It's very important to be able to write solve word problem. Here we have 288 pens are boxed by the dozen. How many boxes are needed? Okay. We need to know how many boxes, so our variable should be defined as the number of boxes, because that's what our question is asking. So I'm going to let x equal the number of boxes. Okay. 288 pens are boxed by the dozen. So, a dozen pens per box equals 288. Okay, so there's a dozen pens. A dozen is 12. So 12 pens per box times the number of boxes that I have has to equal the number of pens that I need, which is 288. So there I have my equation. The number of pens per box times the number of boxes has to equal my total number of pens. Okay, now since 12 times x, to solve for this, we'll divide by 12. On the left-hand side, the 12s cancel out, leaving me with x. Then I'll do 288 divided by 12 over here. 12 goes into 28 twice, 12 plus 2 is 24. 12 goes into 48 4 times. 4 times 12 is 48. So I will need 24 boxes. Since this is a word problem, we need to write it as a complete sentence. So you will need 24 boxes. Being able to solve equations with multiplication and division, and be able to write and solve an equation. They're not complicated. It's important that you show all your steps, and you probably should check them as often as possible.